Hey guys, what's up? It's GVKcollectibles today, and you know what day it is? It is Mythical Mountain Monday, or, well, it's a little delayed. It's Tuesday, I guess. So, of course, the video is delayed because we were having technical difficulties with the SD card. We thought it was the camera, but luckily just the SD card, so that's all. But yeah, I read some comics here, Mythical Mountain Monday, basically where I talk about comics that I had, that I read last week, talk about my favorites, my top 5. There was a lot of cool ones today. Berserker continues, and it continues to flesh out Berserker as a character, which was really, really cool. Planet Size X-Men was really, really interesting because of kind of the implications it has on the whole wider range story, which is going to be very, very interesting. Godzilla, well, we'll get to that actually. Sonyaverse ended its first arc. This seems to be completely an ongoing title, which is going to be very interesting going forward, very much like a Spider-Verse. New Mutants was really cool. Star Wars was really, really cool. Kind of furthers this story of the War of the Bounty Hunters with Luke and with Leia and Lando and everybody. So yeah, but anyway, let's get into the main big bulk of the my recommendations, which is really cool. So my number 5, I guess, recommendation would be, well, my 5th favorite comic, I think, of this week was Aliens, number 4 with Philip Kennedy Johnson. Story continues basically where we left off with Bishop showing up, and we actually learned a lot of cool things of that the Xenomorphs, what we kind of figured at first, because in Aliens that Xenomorphs don't really care about synthetics, which is very interesting, unless they perceive them as a threat, which is really, really interesting. So Bishop is able to get through, this is why Bishop's able to survive all of this, which is really, really interesting. We eventually come onto the nest, where, of course, Gabriel's looking for Danny, of course, but we eventually learn Danny has been planted with a facehugger, which is very, very unfortunate, and basically Gabriel is going to take him out of his misery because he knows he's dead. And it seems like it alludes to that Gabe actually, because there's been flashbacks that he actually had a xenomorph attached, a facehugger attached to him in the flashbacks, even though we don't get that confirmation yet. Iris eventually does show up, the leader of the anti-Weyland-Yutani group, basically saying we can get him off the planet and basically rescue him, essentially. But they get out of the hive, which is just, they are overrun, and then we are eventually, they head to a pod, essentially, escape pod, try to get away, but unfortunately one of the mercs is eventually killed. Hamilton, one of the Weyland-Yutani, is eventually killed, and ultimately we get to have the reveal of the Alpha, which is not what I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be the kind of seal alien, but we got this kind of really, really cool, interesting, maybe it's like a proto-queen, essentially, or a guard, kind of like the Praetorians in the AVP games, if you've ever played those. So yeah, it's very interesting to see where this is going to go from here. What I'm aware of, this is a completely ongoing series, so it's going to be very interesting going forward to see how the series will end eventually. So yeah, that's really, really cool. Aliens 5 is my number 5 recommended. Is my one of my recommendations this week. The next one is Peach Mokoto continues her story with Demon Days number 1, which is very interesting because I think they're all kind of, even though they are a continuous story, they're all divided in one shot. So it follows this woman called Mariko, and she's getting bullied at school, and she eventually, kind of violently goes after this kid who's been bullying her. But we eventually learn that she has dreams of her mother, but we eventually learn from her granny that she is actually not her granny. She was actually taken in as an orphan from her mother was a Oni, which is really, really cool. And we actually get introduced, I think Mariko is completely new character that is created for this specific story. It just kind of shows throughout Japanese mythology, which is really, really cool. And we do get Kuriko, aka Black Widow. So it is really, really cool that we are getting to see those kind of those allegory characters from Marvel being brought in as Oni and Japanese mythology characters. We actually see Nightcrawler too. Overall, the art is really, really fantastic. Really great that Peach Momoko has her own book, just because she does an amazing job on art. She does a fantastic job, I think, with this story. I loved the first issue. I thought the first issue was really, really incredible. It is interesting to see how they divide these up. Her art is absolutely fantastic in this as well. So yeah, those are just my highest recommendations. Without getting into the book too much, you do see like some characters we actually going to get teased of Mystique, and I think Sabretooth within the next story, and maybe even what it looks like Spider-Gwen too, who I think is that right there. So that's going to be very interesting. But anyway, Demon Days is my number 4 recommendation. Beautiful art, wonderful story, I think, very unique. And it actually, another cool thing that I wanted to mention too, was that you actually get, Peach Momoko actually does some really cool things of where she gives backgrounds on yokais, I should say, onis and yokais, I should say, which is really, really cool. You kind of learn information about Japanese mythology lore, which is really, really cool. And I think it's really, really well done too. So yeah, that is my number 4 recommendation. It is Demon Days by Peach Momoko. So my next comic, I don't think any of you would be completely shocked at this. It's kind of listing a little lower in comparison to all my other comic books that I've pretty much read this week. It is Godzilla Monsters and Protectors number 3 from IDW Comics. This is done by Eric Burnham. And it is really interesting because we continue the story of the fairies going to Cedric's school within Japan, and actually trying to find essentially hopeful. They try to find like a glimmer of hope within what the future could be, and that they're trying to prevent that just sees Godzilla destroying Earth because he gets fed up with humanity. So another cool thing that gets introduced is the idea of Biollante. Biollante was actually introduced at the end of the last book, but at this point we actually get to see Biollante fight Godzilla, and I gotta say, it's really, really cool and interesting to see Biollante within this Godzilla story, specifically just how her creation is, because she has a very unique and complex creation within the original Japanese films. She is has spliced Godzilla DNA. There's also a little human DNA, but they basically just engineer her as a. She does have that Godzilla DNA. She is engineered from Godzilla, but she's kind of used as a anti-Godzilla weapon, which is what you would more so see with Mechagodzilla, Mogira, Mecha King Ghidorah, even Jet Jaguar. I think with Singular Point going on right now, which hasn't been revealed in Japan, but it is really, really cool and really, really fun. The art from Dan Scoden is really, really cool. I love the characters. They look very anime, but at the same time look very, very cool. There's actually a funny little Gamera Easter egg to Flying Turtles, which was really, really cool that they included that, even though for those of you who know, Gamera isn't Toho. He's mainly a Daiei creation. I actually think, I can't remember the studio that it actually has him right now, but they haven't done anything with the poor guy in a while. But the book continues to be fun. I think it is a really, really cool. It's really cool to see IDW get back within Godzilla and really kind of show it all for all ages, which I'm completely fine with. I am okay. I love the idea of more younger kids and younger folks, generally speaking, younger than me at least, get introduced to Godzilla this way, and I think this is a really, really great way, because it kind of gives a basis for what the character is if you don't want to jump quite into the heavy gritty stuff with the original 1954, or if you just want to jump into the goofy Shoei stuff like I did, that's perfectly fine. But yeah, that is my my third recommendation this week. It is Godzilla Monsters and Protectors number 3. Just a fantastic book. Very excited. There's actually going to be, this week, there's actually going to be a one-shot called Godzilla Rivals, Godzilla vs. Ghidorah, which is going to be very interesting. I'm very excited to see how that turns out. So, getting down to the nit and gritty, not nit and gritty, but my number 2 recommendation, I would say, it is Nightwing 81. And holy crap, this book continues to be a fantastic book. So it basically opens with Melina Zuko, who is the daughter of Harry Zuko, who is basically also the person who killed Nightwing's parents. So, and basically she's dealing with kind of the underhand belly, where they're very much like how you're going to protect our city, essentially, how you're going to protect us. So they're trying to get her in dirt. But we actually continue where the last issue left off with Nightwing facing off against Heartless, which Heartless's design is a very, very interesting, very cool, kind of reminds me of like a Giallo villain. I don't know if Tom Taylor and the artist Bruno Redino actually went with that moniker, but it really kind of matches the character, which I think is really, really interesting. The art continues to be absolutely outstanding, and we eventually learn that Heartless is enhanced, but he's trying to stall from Dick to basically lead all these children that are in this camp to the pier of where the pier gets he explodes the pier because he put explosives under it. But luckily he radios out to Bloodhaven, and Bloodhaven, very much kind of like of what I can equate it to is like kind of New York of when 9/11 happened. You see a lot of New Yorkers coming together and like helping. You very much see that, where there's a lot of boats that show up to save all these kids, which is really, really cool and really well done. Eventually, Dick is told by Barbara and Tim. Also, this is the first issue. I want to say that Nightwing's dog, three-legged dog he saved in the first issue, Haley is name dropped, which is really, really cute. I really love the name. But we eventually learn, Nightwing eventually learns about Merzuko and eventually goes to her apartment, which we eventually learn this big revelation that Melina Zuko is actually not a Zuko, she's actually a Grayson. She's actually Dick Grayson's sister. So this is a huge revelation, because I don't think this has been established, everything. This is a thing specifically from Tom Taylor, and I'm very intrigued to see where this is going to go. The camera's about to cut out, so I will be right back. Guys, I'm back. So as I said, you see the daughter essentially come back, which is very, very interesting, that we have Melina Zuko is actually Dick Grayson's sister. In what capacity? A younger sister, older sister? We have no idea yet. I believe it's a younger sister, but I'm very excited to see where Tom Taylor is going to be taking this kind of story arc and going forward. I think it's really, really cool, just because it's just the fact that I think it opens a lot of interesting ways the story can continue, especially with Dick wanting to improve the city, and of what Melina Zuko might want, even though there's kind of things here and there that may be scattered that she doesn't necessarily like Nightwing, that maybe her and him have the same goal of wanting to make Bloodhaven a better place and get away from the criminals like the Zukos, the Maronis, and also like Blockbuster mainly, which is Nightwing's big villain within this book I'm aware of. So, because I hadn't read anything previously to this, but yeah, number 2 recommendation, Nightwing by Tom Taylor, Bruno Redino, and sorry, let me get his name, because I don't want to, Andriato Lucas on the colors, which absolutely they pop. The art's really, really cool. It's really fun and dynamic, which I really, really love about the comic, which I think it is one of the best looking DC comics. I think with Batman, I mean that's a hard statement to say, just because there are a lot of good looking DC books. Like, a lot of the art is really killer on a lot of these books. But yeah, number 2 recommendation, Nightwing from Tom Taylor. So now it comes to the number 1 recommendation of the show, of course. Sorry, this is going to be a little bit of a later upload, but bear with me. And of course, number 4, I mean, well, you kind of get a hint of what number the issue is, but my number 1 pick is definitely Ultra Omega 4. This, from James Harden and David Stewart. This book continues to be one of my favorites. I think it is a fantastic book. It is a very gritty version of Ultraman, which is really, really cool. And because what we eventually learn, Noah eventually becomes a Ultra Mega, which is really, really cool in the kaiju. It is interesting because since the Ultra Megas haven't just been around, the kaiju have kind of gotten smaller. They've gotten weak because they can't thrive off the Ultra Mega. The idea of like the Batman and Joker, like they both thrive with they can't have one of the they can have one or the other, and it's just chaos throughout. But we eventually see the mother who we had previously seen as this giant kaiju, and she comes out kind of like, the best I could describe it is like Alexia Ashford, I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, from Resident Evil Code Veronica, of where she is kind of like this monstrous looking figure, but at the same time very feminine looking. But basically telling the kid, you're just impulsive and you're not ready for war, just because you've kind of gotten lazy because of the Ultra Mega. But we eventually, Noah is taken to the Ultra Omega planet, where the main, kind of the Ultra Father essentially is shown, but he has been actually corrupted by the kaiju itself, and the Eye gets really, really pissed. As I said, this is very much a good mixture of Ultraman with a good, healthy amount of body horror, think David Cronenberg, really anything body horror related. The Thing, too, you could even say that. And it's really, really well done. There's actually a funny scene with Beth, who has been captured by the kaiju, and the kaiju are just chilling around in a bed. I have to say, there are a lot of comedic scenes within this book, which I absolutely love. It's very unique and different comparative to the other books. And it was strange, because Ultraman actually didn't get released this week, so it may have been delayed. But what we eventually learned is that this giant Eye with a dying Noah basically combined, and they make a new Ultra Mega. And it's really, really cool. I'm not going to show it because it is a little graphic. This is a completely graphic book, I think. Very, very graphic. If you have a weak stomach for kind of body horror stuff, it's definitely not the book for you. But if you can handle that, if you love The Thing, that eventually Noah becomes Ultra Mega, which is absolutely a really, really cool moment, and you just get some really, really cool battle moments. The kaijus get big because they have, as I said, they've gone weak, and it's you just see Noah really, really kick ass as the new Ultra Mega, and it is really, really cool. Beth actually is in this robot that she built for the kaiju prince, or the kaiju king, and basically kicks his ass essentially out of the ship, but then he grows big, very much that big body horror style. So it is really, really interesting to see, and it's really, really cool. Noah gets a shit beat out of him too, but he eventually kills the Kaiju King. But then what we learn at the end of the issue, Jason, who was the first Ultra Mega that we saw in the first issue, his head flies down into the city, and he's like, "My son, my God, it's been so long. You didn't bond with it, did you?" So this adds a whole lot of kind of what the hell is going on. Kind of show maybe the Ultra Megas aren't necessarily as good as the kaiju as they proceed. So it is very interesting. It's also interesting to see Jason back completely, because I wasn't expecting Jason to be the first Ultra Mega be back. I thought he was completely dead. And what it seems, Noah is in fact his son, the son that we saw at the beginning with the other, with his mother. So this has been continuously following Noah's story. So it is very, very interesting. And a thing that I truly love about these IDW books, not IDW, Image books, and a lot of other books too, is they have a letters page of the author talking about some asking questions here and there, which is really, really cool, and it's really awesome. So yeah, Ultra Mega number 4, the story is bloody. It's really picking up now, I feel like, with the previous, the first issue being very much this is the beginning of the story. This is the kind of the background of the story, then the 2, 3 kind of really continuing this new story with this new character of where he wanted to go. And I think it's it's an awesome story. The art, James Harden does a amazing job with the art. Dave Stewart does a fantastic job of the coloring too. This is just a really, really cool book. It very much reminds me of kind of what would be the correct word? Very much independent books. I mean, it is an independent book, but it reminds me of really cool kind of experimental 80s comics, which I think is really, really cool, and 90s a little bit, actual good experimental 90s comics. But yeah, that is my number 1 pick, is Ultra Mega number 4 from James Harden, of course. And yeah, so that is Mythical Mountain Monday. So as I said, sorry about the late upload for this week, just mainly because it was a later upload, mainly just because of we were having technical difficulties. Luckily, it wasn't the camera. It was more so our SD card, which we had expunged quite a bit of, so that definitely makes sense. But anyway, that is it for today's Mythical Mountain Monday, or Mythical Mountain Tuesday if you want to call it. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed watching the video. I know I did. I had a fun time reading these comics. A lot of really great comics this week, but those were some of my favorites that I really loved. Also, make sure to hit like and hit subscribe. Make sure you hit the little bell notification so you get notified when we upload Mythical Mountain Monday, when we upload What's in the Box Wednesday, Figure Review Friday, and much more like that. And specials here and there. Also check us out on our Instagram and my Facebook page. Also check out Jack's Pop Guy on his Instagram. Posts a lot of cool pops. He is known, probably has the biggest Funko collection I know of any person I know, which is crazy to think. And also check us out on our Mercari shops. Links always will be down below. With that being said, guys, I hope you have a great, hopefully your week continues to go good. I can't wait for Comic Book Wednesday this week. Hopefully there is going to be a lot of great stuff, I think. And yeah, with that being said, peace, y'all.